Captain Mike Johnson sat in his command chair, staring at the strange message on his screen. His survey ship had been mapping the Outer Rim territories for 3 months. Most of the time, they found empty space or primitive worlds with simple life forms. Today was different. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission from the third planet in this system," said Lieutenant Carl Brown, his communications officer. "It's unusual." Mike looked at the blue and green planet on his main display. According to their scans, it was called Earth by its inhabitants. The planet seemed ordinary. No visible space defenses, no orbital stations, no signs of advanced technology. "What kind of transmission?" Mike asked. "It's a diplomatic message, sir. They're asking for a meeting." Mike laughed. In his 15 years with the NIGMA Empire, he had never received a diplomatic message from a primitive world. Most species either tried to fight or surrender immediately when they saw NIGMA ships. "Put it on screen," he ordered. The display showed a middle-aged human man in a simple blue suit. He sat behind a wooden desk with a flag in the background. The man looked calm and confident, not afraid like most primitives when they first saw NIGMA technology. "Greetings," the human said. "I am President John Carter, speaking on behalf of the United Earth Government. We welcome you to our solar system." Mike's crew exchanged glances. The human was speaking as if Earth was an equal power, not a primitive world about to be conquered. "We understand that your empire is expanding through this region of space," President Carter continued. "We wish to discuss territorial boundaries with your representatives. We claim sovereignty over a sphere of space extending 50 light years from our home system." Mike nearly choked on his drink. 50 light years? This tiny world was claiming an area larger than most established NIGMA provinces. "We request that your forces avoid this area," the president said. "We have no desire for conflict, but we will defend our territory if necessary. We hope for peaceful coexistence between our peoples." The message ended with coordinates for a meeting location at the edge of the solar system. Mike stared at the empty screen. "Did he just please tell us to stay away?" "Yes, sir," Carl replied. "He's requesting a diplomatic meeting to discuss boundaries." Mike activated his communicator. "Get me Admiral White, Priority 1. Minutes later, Admiral Lisa White's face appeared on the screen. She was aboard the NIGMA Fleet flagship, 3 systems away. "What is it, Johnson?" "Admiral, we've received a diplomatic message from the inhabitants of the third planet. They're requesting a meeting to discuss territorial boundaries." Admiral White raised an eyebrow. "Territorial boundaries? With us?" "Yes, ma'am. They claim sovereignty over a 50 light-year sphere around their system." The Admiral was quiet for a moment, then she began to laugh. "These primitives think they can negotiate with the NIGMA Empire? What do our scans show about their military capabilities?" Mike looked at his tactical officer. "Report," he ordered. "No visible space fleet, Admiral," the officer replied. "No orbital defense platforms. Their technology appears to be several centuries behind our standards. They're using primitive chemical rockets for space travel, and they want to negotiate with us," Admiral White said, still chuckling. "Send me the full recording. I want to show this to the General Staff." "Yes, ma'am." The transmission ended. Mike looked around his bridge. His crew was smiling and shaking their heads. The idea of negotiating with such a primitive species was absurd. 2 days later, Mike received new orders. He was to report to the sector headquarters immediately. When he arrived, he found himself in a room full of senior officers, all watching. The human president's message on a large screen. General Kevin Davis, the Empire's chief military strategist, stood at the front of the room. He was a tall, thin man with cold eyes and a reputation for brutality. He had conquered more worlds than any other NIGMA commander. "Gentlemen," General Davis said as the message ended, "we have a problem. Not a military problem, but a public relations problem." The officers looked confused. How could a primitive world create a public relations problem? "This message has been broadcast throughout NIGMA space," Davis continued. "Other species are watching to see how we respond. If we allow these humans to dictate terms to us, it might encourage other rebellions." Admiral White leaned forward. "What are you suggesting, General?" "I'm suggesting we make an example of them. We show the galaxy what happens when primitives try to challenge the Empire." "Sir, they're not really challenging us," Mike said. "They're just asking for a meeting." Davis turned his cold stare on Mike. "Captain, they told us to stay away from their territory. That is a challenge. Enigma Empire does not negotiate with inferiors." "But sir, maybe we could." "Captain Johnson," Davis interrupted, "how many worlds have you conquered?" "None, sir. I'm a survey officer. I have conquered 47 worlds. I know how to deal with primitives. First, they ask for meetings. Then they ask for special treatment. Eventually, they start thinking they're equal to us. We cannot allow that." Admiral White nodded. "What are your orders, General?" "We will ignore their request for a meeting. We will proceed with standard conquest protocols. The Empire will add Earth to its territory, and these humans will become subjects like all the others." Mike felt uncomfortable. Something about the human president's message bothered him. The man had not seemed afraid or desperate. He had spoken like someone who was confident in his position. "General, what if they actually have hidden defenses?" Mike asked. "What if they're more advanced than our scans indicate?" Davis laughed harshly. "Captain, I've heard that question before. Every time, the answer is the same. Primitives are primitives. They may have tricks, but they don't have the technology to challenge us." "Sir," the president seemed very confident. "Maybe we should at least investigate further before." "Captain Johnson," Davis said in a dangerous voice, "are you questioning the Empire's military superiority?" Mike felt the temperature in the room drop. Questioning the Empire's superiority was considered treason. "No, sir. I'm just suggesting caution. Caution is for the weak. The Empire conquers through strength, not caution." Davis turned to address the entire room. "Gentlemen, prepare for standard conquest operations. We will show these humans the power of the NIGMA Empire. We will show the galaxy that no species can challenge us." The officers began to file out of the room. Mike lingered, still thinking about the human president's calm confidence. "Captain," Admiral White said, "you seem troubled." "Ma'am, don't you think it's strange that they weren't afraid? Every other primitive species we've encountered has been terrified when they first saw our ships. These humans seemed ... prepared." "Admiral," White considered this, "you may have a point, but our scans are clear. They have no significant military capability. Perhaps they're simply ignorant of our power. Or perhaps they know something we don't," Mike said quietly. The Admiral looked at him sharply. "Captain, you're beginning to sound like a defeatist. The Empire has conquered over 200 worlds. We have the most advanced technology in the galaxy. What could a primitive species possibly know that we don't?" Mike had no answer for that. According to every scan, every analysis, every piece of data they had, Earth was a primitive world with no defenses. The human's confidence made no sense, but something deep in his gut told him they were making a mistake. 3 weeks later, Mike watched from his ship as the NIGMA fleet prepared to move toward Earth. Over 300 warships had been assembled for the conquest. It was massive overkill for a primitive world, but General Davis wanted to make a statement. "Captain," Carl said, "we're receiving another transmission from Earth." Mike sighed. "Put it through." This time, the screen showed a different human. He was wearing a military uniform and stood in what looked like a command center. His expression was serious but not afraid. "This is General Sam Wilson of the United Earth Defense Forces," the man said. "We are aware of your fleet's approach. This is your final warning. Turn back now. We do not wish to fight, but we will defend ourselves, if necessary." The message was short and direct. No pleading, no fear, just a simple statement of fact. Mike looked at his crew. They were all staring at the screen with confused expressions. The human general had spoken like someone who actually believed he could fight the NIGMA Empire. "Sir," Carl said quietly, "should we relay this message to Admiral White?" Mike nodded. But he had a feeling the Admiral would have the same reaction as before. The humans' warnings would be ignored. Their confidence dismissed as ignorance. The fleet continued toward Earth, carrying with it the full might of the NIGMA Empire. Mike could only hope that General Davis was right about primitive species being no threat, but the feeling in his gut was getting stronger. 3 months had passed since the first human message. The NIGMA Empire had spent that time preparing for what they called Operation Swift Victory. Commander Amy Roberts stood on the bridge of her flagship, watching the final preparations. Amy was known throughout the Empire for her efficiency. She had conquered 12 worlds in the past 5 years, always using the same proven method. Arrive with overwhelming force, demand surrender, and crush any resistance quickly. It worked every time. "Commander," her tactical officer called out. "All ships report ready for jump." Amy nodded. Her task force consisted of 50 heavy cruisers and 200 support vessels. It was enough firepower to destroy a small moon. Against a primitive world like Earth, it would be like using a sledgehammer to crack an egg. "Colonel Brown, what's our intelligence on Earth's defenses?" Amy asked her second in command, Colonel. Danny Brown pulled up the latest scan reports. "No change from our previous assessments, ma'am. No orbital platforms, no visible fleet, no energy shields around the planet. They appear to have some primitive missile systems, but nothing that could threaten our ships." Amy smiled. "Good. We'll follow standard protocol. Jump in, demand immediate surrender, and if they refuse, we'll demonstrate our power by destroying one of their cities." "Which city should we target, ma'am?" "It doesn't matter. Any large population center will do. The goal is to show them that resistance is futile." The task force jumped into hyperspace, heading for Earth's solar system. Amy felt confident. In her experience, primitive worlds always surrendered after the first demonstration of NIGMA power. The humans would be no different. Dr. Kate Davis sat in her laboratory aboard the flagship, reviewing the energy readings from Earth's solar system. As the fleet's chief scientist, she was responsible for analyzing any unusual phenomena they might encounter. The readings were strange. There were energy signatures throughout the system that didn't match any known technology. Some appeared to be coming from empty space, others from what looked like asteroids or comets. "Probably just natural phenomena," Kate muttered to herself. "Solar flares, magnetic fields, that sort of thing." She had seen similar readings before. On other worlds, primitive planets often had unusual energy patterns caused by their young, unstable technology. It was nothing to worry about. Kate turned her attention to more important matters. She was supposed to analyze Earth's resources after the conquest. The planet appeared to have abundant water, fertile soil, and valuable minerals. It would make a nice addition to the Empire. The fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system. Amy stood on her bridge, looking at the tactical display. Everything looked exactly as their scans had predicted. A small blue planet with no visible defenses. "Begin approach to the target," Amy ordered. "Standard conquest formation." The NIGMA Ships moved toward Earth in a threatening formation designed to intimidate. Amy had used this same approach dozens of times. The sight of so many warships usually convinced primitive species to surrender immediately. "Commander," her communications officer called out, "we're receiving a transmission from the planet." "Put it through," Amy said. She expected to hear a message of surrender or at least fear. Instead, she saw a human in military uniform standing in what looked like a command center. "This is General Sam Wilson of the United Earth Defense Forces," the human said. "You are entering protected space. This is your final warning. Turn back. Now." Amy laughed. "Final warning? From them?" She activated her response transmitter. "This is Commander Roberts of the NIGMA Empire. You will surrender immediately and prepare for occupation. Any resistance will be met with total destruction." The human general's expression didn't change. "Commander Roberts, you have been warned. We do not wish to fight, but we will defend ourselves if necessary. Turn back now while you still can." Amy cut the transmission. "While we still can? Did he just threaten us?" Colonel Brown shook his head. "Ma'am, these primitives clearly don't understand what they're facing. Should we proceed with the demonstration?" "Not yet. Let's get closer first. I want them to see the full power of our fleet before we start destroying their cities." The task force continued its approach. Amy watched the tactical display, waiting for some sign of Earth's defenses. Maybe they had hidden weapons that would activate when the fleet got closer. But the scanners showed nothing. "Ma'am," Dr. Davis called from her station, "I'm detecting some unusual energy readings." "What kind of readings?" "I'm not sure. There are energy signatures scattered throughout the system, but they don't match any known technology. They might be natural phenomena." Amy dismissed the report. Dr. Davis was always finding strange energy readings. Most of the time, they turned out to be nothing important. "Commander," the tactical officer said, "we're now within weapons range of the planet." Amy opened a channel to her entire fleet. "All ships, prepare for demonstration bombardment. Target the largest city on the night side of the planet. We'll show these humans what happens when they ignore the Empire." The NIGMA ships powered up their weapons. Amy felt the familiar thrill of conquest. Soon, another world would bow before the Empire's might. "Commander," the sensor operator called out urgently, "I'm reading multiple contacts. Ships are appearing around us." Amy spun to look at the tactical display. Her blood went cold. Dozens of unknown vessels were materializing around her fleet. They were huge, sleek ships that dwarfed her largest cruisers. "Where did they come from?" Amy demanded. "Unknown, ma'am. They just appeared out of nowhere." Amy stared at the display. The unknown ships were arranged in a perfect formation around her fleet. They had appeared silently, without any energy signatures or hyperspace distortions. It was impossible. "Are they armed?" she asked. "I can't tell, ma'am. I can't get clear readings on their weapon systems." Amy felt the first stirrings of real fear. In all her years of conquest, she had never encountered anything like this. The ships were clearly far more advanced than anything in the NIGMA fleet. "Open a channel to the lead ship," she ordered. A new face appeared on her screen. This human was older, with gray hair and calm, intelligent eyes. He wore a simple uniform without excessive decorations. "Commander Roberts," the human said, "I am Captain Jim Miller of the Earth Defense Ship Defender. You were warned. You chose to ignore that warning. Now you will understand why we asked you to stay away." Amy tried to sound confident. "Captain Miller, you are interfering with a legal military operation. The NIGMA Empire claims this system by right of conquest. Commander, there will be no conquest today. Your fleet will power down its weapons and leave this system immediately." Amy felt her anger rising. You're threatening Enigma Task Force? Do you have any idea what you're dealing with? Yes, Commander. I know exactly what I'm dealing with. The question is, do you? Amy cut the transmission and turned to her tactical officer. All ships, open fire. Destroy those ships. The NIGMA fleet unleashed its full firepower. Thousands of energy beams and missiles streaked toward the human ships. Amy watched the display, expecting to see the unknown vessels destroyed. Instead, something impossible happened. The weapons simply stopped working. Energy beams flickered out, missiles lost power, and drifted harmlessly through space. Not a single shot reached its target. What happened? Amy screamed. I don't know, ma'am. All weapons have shut down. We're getting system failures across the fleet. Amy watched in horror as her ships began to lose power. One by one, engines shut down, shields collapsed, and life support switched to emergency power. The mighty NIGMA fleet was being systematically disabled. How are they doing this? Colonel Brown asked in a whisper. Amy had no answer. The human ships hadn't fired a single shot, yet they were somehow shutting down every system in the NIGMA fleet. Captain Miller's voice came through the speakers. Commander Roberts, your weapons have been disabled. Your ships are no longer a threat. We are going to escort you to the edge of the system. You can't do this, Amy shouted. The Empire will not tolerate this insult. Commander, we warned you. We gave you every opportunity to turn back. You chose to ignore our warnings and threaten our world. These are the consequences of that choice. Amy felt her flagship being gently pushed by some invisible force. Around her, the entire fleet was being moved toward the edge of the system. The human ships escorted them like shepherds guiding sheep. Ma'am, Dr. Davis called out, I'm detecting the energy signatures again. They're coming from the human ships, but I can't identify the technology they're using. Amy slumped in her command chair. Her supposedly primitive enemy was using technology that was completely beyond NIGMA understanding. They had disabled her entire fleet without firing a shot. Get me Admiral White, she ordered quietly. The Admiral's face appeared on the screen. Report, Commander. Admiral, we've been defeated. The humans have technology we can't match. They've disabled our entire fleet. Admiral White's expression went from confident to shocked. That's impossible. You have 250 ships. Ma'am, they appeared out of nowhere. They shut down all our weapons and engines without firing a shot. We're being escorted out of the system. Admiral White was quiet for a long moment. Commander, did you get any useful intelligence on their capabilities? Amy looked at Dr. Davis, who shook her head. No, ma'am. We have no idea how they're doing this. Return to. The NIGMA Empire's council chamber had never been so tense. Emperor Zakthu sat on his massive throne, his 4 eyes glowing with rage. Around him, the Empire's top military leaders tried to explain how an entire task force had been defeated by a primitive world. You're telling me, the Emperor said slowly, that 250 of our warships were defeated by a species that doesn't even have a visible space fleet? Admiral Lisa White stood before the throne, her uniform perfect, but her confidence shattered. Yes, Your Majesty. They used technology we don't understand. They disabled our weapons without firing a shot. Impossible. General Kevin Davis slammed his fist on the table. Our intelligence clearly shows they're primitives. They use chemical rockets, for crying out loud. Commander Amy Roberts, still shaken from her defeat, stepped forward. General, with respect, our intelligence was wrong. These humans have capabilities far beyond what our scans detected. Or maybe, Davis said coldly, you simply failed in your mission. Amy's face flushed with anger. Sir, I've conquered 12 worlds for this empire. I know defeat when I see it. And I know superior technology when I'm facing it. The Emperor raised his hand for silence. Tell me about these human ships. How big were they? How many? Approximately 50 vessels, Your Majesty. Each one was larger than our heaviest cruisers. They appeared without warning and vanished just as quickly. Dr. Kate Davis, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. Your Majesty, the energy signatures I detected were unlike anything in our database. They seem to operate on principles we don't understand. Are you suggesting, the Emperor said dangerously, that these primitives have technology superior to ours? Kate hesitated. Speaking such words was close to treason. I'm suggesting, Your Majesty, that we may have underestimated them. The Emperor was quiet for a long moment. Around the chamber, officers waited nervously for his decision. Finally, he spoke. No, I will not accept that a primitive species can challenge the NIGMA Empire. We have ruled the galaxy for 500 years. We have the most advanced technology, the strongest military, the greatest empire in history. Your Majesty, Amy said carefully, perhaps we should consider negotiating with them. They seemed willing to talk. Negotiate? The Emperor's voice rose to a roar. The NIGMA Empire does not negotiate with inferiors. General Davis nodded eagerly. Your Majesty is right. These humans got lucky, that's all. They probably found some ancient technology they don't fully understand. We just need to hit them with overwhelming force. Exactly, the Emperor said. We will mobilize the Grand Fleet. Every ship, every weapon, every soldier. We will show these humans what happens when they challenge the Empire. Amy felt her heart sink. Your Majesty, that's 10,000 ships. Surely that's not necessary. Commander Roberts, the Emperor said coldly, you have already failed once. Do not presume to give me military advice. Amy fell silent. Around the chamber, she could see other officers nodding in agreement. The Empire's pride had been wounded, and they wanted revenge. Fleet Admiral Ben Clark, the Emperor commanded, you will lead the Grand Fleet. I want these humans destroyed. Every ship, every city, every last one of them. Make an example that will terrify the galaxy. Admiral Clark saluted. It will be my honor, Your Majesty. As the meeting ended, Amy approached Dr. Davis. Kate, what do you really think about their technology? Kate looked around to make sure no one was listening. Amy, I've been analyzing the data from your encounter. The energy patterns they used. They're not just advanced. They're revolutionary. It's like they found a completely different way to manipulate space and time. Could they really defeat the Grand Fleet? Kate was quiet for a moment. I don't know, but I'm scared to find out. On Earth, President Susan Adams sat in the White House Situation Room, surrounded by her military advisors. The news from space was not good. They're assembling the largest fleet in galactic history, General Tom Green reported. Our deep space monitors count over 10,000 ships. How long do we have? The President asked. 6 weeks, maybe 8. They're pulling ships from every corner of their empire. President Adams looked tired. We tried to warn them. We gave them every chance to avoid this. Yes, ma'am. But the NIGMA Empire doesn't seem to understand warnings. They only understand force. Captain Rachel Scott, commander of Earth's Deep Space Monitoring Network, studied the tactical displays. Ma'am, they're not just bringing warships. They're bringing troop transports, occupation forces, construction ships. They're planning to completely conquer our solar system. What are our options? The President asked. General Green activated a holographic display. We have 3 choices. First, we can try to negotiate again. Second, we can evacuate Earth and retreat to the backup colonies. Third, we can fight. What do you recommend? Ma'am, we've been preparing for this moment for 300 years. Our ancestors knew this day would come. We are ready. The president nodded slowly. Then we fight. But General, I want to give them one more chance. One final warning. Ma'am, they've ignored every warning we've given them. Then this one will be different. This time, we'll show them exactly what they're dealing with. Admiral Paul Martinez, commander of Earth's Defense Fleet, received his orders with a heavy heart. He had hoped it would never come to this. The humans had spent centuries trying to avoid galactic conflicts. Now they had no choice. Sir, his aide said, the fleet is ready. All ships report prepared for combat. Paul looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, 10,000 enemy ships were heading toward Earth. The largest military force in galactic history was coming to destroy his world. Send the message, he ordered. The transmission was broadcast on all frequencies throughout. NIGMA space. It showed President Adams sitting in the Oval Office, her expression grave but determined. This is President Susan Adams of the United Earth Government, she said. We are aware of the fleet approaching our system. This is our final warning to the NIGMA Empire. We have tried to avoid this conflict. We asked for peaceful coexistence. We warned you to stay away from our territory. You have ignored every attempt at diplomacy. The fleet you are sending will not return. We do not wish to destroy it, but we will defend ourselves. Your soldiers will die for nothing, but the pride of an empire that refuses to listen to reason. Turn back now. This is your last chance to avoid a disaster of your own making. The message ended. Throughout NIGMA space, military commanders watched in disbelief. The primitives were threatening them again, even in the face of overwhelming force. Fleet Admiral Clark laughed when he saw the message. They still think they can intimidate us. When we reach their system, I'll show them what real power looks like. The Grand Fleet continued its approach. 10,000 ships, the pride of the NIGMA Empire, moving toward what they thought would be an easy victory. On Earth, the final preparations were being made. Admiral Martinez stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching as the defense fleet took its positions. The ships were sleek and white, built with technology that the galaxy had never seen. Admiral, his tactical officer reported, all ships are in position. We're ready. Martinez nodded. Remember, our goal is to stop them, not to massacre them. We'll give them every chance to surrender. Sir, what if they don't surrender? Martinez thought about the arrogance he had seen in the NIGMA messages, about their refusal to negotiate or even consider that they might be wrong. Then we'll show them why Earth's warnings were not empty threats. The Grand Fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the solar system. Admiral Clark stood on his command bridge, looking at the tactical displays. The small blue planet looked defenseless, just as their intelligence had predicted. Begin the attack, he ordered. I want that planet reduced to rubble within the hour. The fleet moved forward in perfect formation. Clark felt proud. This was the most powerful military force ever assembled. Nothing could stand against it. Sir, his sensor operator called out, I'm detecting energy signatures throughout the system. What kind of signatures? Unknown, sir. They appear to be... Wait, sir, ships are appearing around us. Clark spun to look at the tactical display. His confidence evaporated instantly. Human ships were materializing throughout his fleet. Not dozens, but hundreds. They were everywhere, surrounding every NIGMA vessel. How many? He whispered. I count over 2,000 ships, sir. They're bigger than anything we've ever seen. Clark stared at the display. The human ships were massive, dwarfing even the Empire's largest dreadnoughts. They hung in space like silent guardians, waiting. Open a channel to the lead ship, he ordered. A human face appeared on his screen. It was Admiral Martinez, looking calm and sad. "Admiral Clark," Martinez said. "I am Admiral Paul Martinez of the Earth Defense Fleet. You were warned, multiple times. You chose to ignore those warnings. Admiral Martinez, you are interfering with a legal military operation. Surrender now, and we may show mercy." Martinez shook his head. "Admiral, you brought 10,000 ships to destroy a world that only wanted to be left alone. You ignored our warnings, dismissed our requests for peace, and came here to commit genocide. We came here to enforce the Empire's will. You came here to die," Martinez said quietly. "Your Emperor's pride has doomed your fleet. But I'm going to give you one last chance. Order your ships to withdraw. Leave T." The news of the Grand Fleet's defeat spread through NIGMA space like wildfire. 10,000 ships, the pride of the Empire, had been sent home in disgrace. Emperor Zakthul sat alone in his throne room, staring at the reports with disbelief. Fleet. Admiral Ben Clark stood before the throne, his once proud uniform now wrinkled and stained. The defeat had aged him 10 years in a single day. "Explain to me," the Emperor said slowly, "how 10,000 ships were defeated without a single human casualty." "Your Majesty, their technology is beyond anything we've ever seen. They disabled our weapons, our engines, our shields, all without firing a single shot. It was like they were playing with us." The Emperor's 4 eyes glowed with fury. "Playing with us? The mighty NIGMA Empire? Sir, they could have destroyed the entire fleet in minutes. Instead, they chose to disable us and let us live. They showed us mercy." "Mercy?" The Emperor stood up from his throne. "They humiliated us, made us look weak in front of the entire galaxy." General Kevin Davis, who had been standing quietly in the corner, stepped forward. "Your Majesty, perhaps it's time to consider that we may have underestimated these humans." "Never." The Emperor roared. "I will not accept that any species is superior to the NIGMA Empire." Admiral Clark looked exhausted. "Your Majesty, I've served this empire for 30 years. I've won every battle I've ever fought. But these humans, they're different. They have technology that makes ours look primitive. Then we'll find better technology. We'll build bigger ships. We'll recruit more soldiers." Dr. Kate Davis, who had been analyzing the data from both defeats, finally spoke up. "Your Majesty, I don't think more ships or bigger weapons will help. The humans aren't just ahead of us in firepower. They've discovered completely new principles of physics." "What do you mean?" "They can manipulate space and time in ways we don't understand. They can appear anywhere, disable any weapon, neutralize any defense. They're not just more advanced. They're operating on a different level entirely." The Emperor walked to the great window overlooking his capital city. Millions of NIGMA citizens lived their lives below, unaware that their empire had been humbled by a species they had never heard of. "What are you suggesting?" he asked quietly. "I'm suggesting, Your Majesty, that we negotiate. We find out what these humans want and try to reach some kind of agreement." The Emperor turned around, his eyes blazing. "The NIGMA Empire does not negotiate with anyone. We conquer or we are conquered. There is no middle ground." "But Your Majesty," Admiral Clark sighed, "they've already proven they can defeat us. What if next time they decide not to show mercy? Then we'll make sure there is no next time." The Emperor activated his communication system. "Get me the Science Council. Get me the Military Research Division. Get me every scientist and engineer." In the Empire, General Davis looked confused. "Your Majesty, what are you planning?" "If these humans have superior technology, then we'll steal it. We'll capture one of their ships, reverse engineer their weapons, and turn their own technology against them." Dr. Davis shook her head. "Sir, I don't think that will work. Their technology seems to be based on principles we don't even know exist. It would be like trying to explain quantum physics to a caveman. Then we'll learn. The Emperor shouted. The NIGMA Empire has survived for 500 years by adapting and conquering. We will not be defeated by a handful of primitives with lucky technology. On Earth, President Susan Adams sat in the Situation Room, reading reports from around the galaxy. The news was not encouraging. The NIGMA Empire is mobilizing their entire scientific community, General Tom Green reported. Intelligence suggests they're trying to develop new weapons, specifically to counter our technology. How long do we have? The president asked. Unknown. But they're pulling scientists from every research facility in their empire. They're also offering massive rewards for any information about our capabilities. Admiral Paul Martinez looked at the tactical displays. Ma'am, there's something else. Several NIGMA ships have been detected near our outer monitoring stations. They're not attacking, just watching. They're studying us, President Adams sighed, trying to figure out how our technology works. Should we chase them off? The president was quiet for a moment. No, let them watch. They won't learn anything useful, and it might keep them busy while we prepare. Prepare for what, Mom? For the fact that they're not going to give up. The NIGMA Empire has ruled the galaxy for centuries. They're not going to accept defeat. From us, Captain Rachel Scott, monitoring deep space communications, spoke up. Ma'am, we're intercepting NIGMA military communications. They're planning something called Operation Final Solution. What kind of operation? Unknown, but it's classified at the highest levels. Only the Emperor and his inner circle know the details. President Adams felt a chill. General Green, what's the status of our evacuation plans? All civilian populations are ready to relocate to the backup colonies if necessary. But ma'am, are we really considering abandoning Earth? I'm considering all options. If the NIGMA Empire is planning something desperate, we need to be ready. Back in NIGMA space, Emperor Zachthal was meeting with his top scientists in a secret facility. Dr. Mark Thompson, the Empire's leading weapons researcher, stood before a massive holographic display. Your Majesty, Dr. Thompson said, we've analyzed every piece of data from our encounters with the humans. Their technology appears to work by manipulating what they call quantum fields. Can we replicate it? Not with our current understanding of physics. It would require a complete revolution in our scientific knowledge. The Emperor's face darkened. How long would that take? Decades, Your Majesty. Maybe centuries. We don't have decades. I want results now. Dr. Sarah Kim, the Empire's chief physicist, stepped forward. Your Majesty, there might be another way. If we can't match their technology, maybe we can find their weakness. What kind of weakness? Every technology has limitations. If we can figure out what those limitations are, we might be able to exploit them. Explain. For example, their ships seem to require enormous amounts of energy. If we could find a way to disrupt their power source, we might be able to disable them. The Emperor looked interested. How would we do that? We're developing a new type of weapon, something that creates massive electromagnetic pulses. If we're right about their power requirements, it might overload their systems. How many ships would we need to deploy this weapon? Dr. Kim hesitated. All of them, Your Majesty. Every ship in the Empire. And even then, success is not guaranteed. The Emperor was quiet for a long moment. You're talking about risking the entire Imperial Navy on an untested weapon. Yes, Your Majesty. But if we're right, we might be able to level the playing field. And if we're wrong, then the Empire ends. The Emperor walked to the window, looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the humans were waiting. They had shown mercy twice, but mercy had limits. How long to prepare this weapon? 6 months, Your Majesty. Maybe less if we put every resource behind it. Do it. Every scientist, every engineer, every facility. I want this weapon ready as soon as possible. As the meeting ended, Dr. Kim approached. Dr. Thompson. Mark, do you really think this will work? Thompson shook his head. Honestly? No. The humans are so far ahead of us that I don't think any weapon we build will make a difference. Then why are we doing this? Because the Emperor refuses to accept reality. He'd rather destroy the Empire than admit that someone is better than us. What should we do? Our jobs? Build the weapon, hope for the best, and pray that the humans continue to show mercy. 6 months later, the new weapon was ready. The entire NIGMA fleet had been equipped with quantum disruptor arrays, designed to overload human power systems. Emperor Zakthul stood on the command deck of his personal flagship, preparing to lead the final assault on Earth. Your Majesty, Admiral Clark said quietly, are you sure about this? If we fail, there won't be a fleet left to defend the Empire. Admiral, the Empire's honor is worth more than its ships. We will either defeat these humans or die trying. Sir, they've shown us mercy twice. Maybe they'll negotiate. They showed us mercy because they thought we were beaten. Today, we'll show them that the NIGMA Empire never stays beaten. The fleet jumped toward Earth, carrying with it the Empire's last hope and the Emperor's desperate pride. Behind them, they left an Empire holding its breath, waiting to see if their leaders would return as heroes or not at all. On Earth, the deep space monitors detected the approaching fleet immediately. President Adams looked at the tactical display with sadness. They're coming again, she said quietly. How many ships? Admiral Martinez asked. All of them. Every ship in the NIGMA Empire. They're betting everything on this attack. Ma'am, what are your orders? President Adams thought about the Emperor's pride, about the NIGMA Empire's refusal to accept reality, about the billions of lives that hung in the balance. We end this, she said finally, once and for all. The final NIGMA fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system. It was a sight that had never been seen before in galactic history. Every single warship in the Empire had come to this battle. Over 15,000 vessels filled the darkness of space. Emperor Zakthul stood on the bridge of his personal flagship, the Eternal Glory. His 4 eyes glowed with determination and desperation. This was his last chance to restore the Empire's honor. Admiral Clark, he commanded, signaled the fleet. Today, we fight for the Empire's survival. Clark activated the fleet communication system. All ships, this is your Emperor. Today we face an enemy that has humiliated us twice. But today is different. Today we have weapons that can hurt them. Today we show the galaxy that the NIGMA Empire bows to no one. Throughout the fleet, soldiers and officers listened to their Emperor's words. Many felt fear, but they also felt pride. They were the Imperial Navy, the finest military force in the galaxy. Even if they died today, they would die with honor. Dr. Sarah Kim monitored the quantum disruptor arrays from the science ship Revelation. Your Majesty, all ships report ready. The disruptors are charged and targeting the predicted human ship positions. Excellent. The moment those human ships appear, we hit them with everything we have. On Earth, Admiral Paul Martinez watched the NIGMA fleet from his command center. The humans had been tracking the Empire's approach for days. They knew about the new weapons, the desperate plan, the Emperor's final gamble. Sir, his tactical officer reported, the entire NIGMA fleet is in position. They're not trying to hide or use tactics. They're just waiting. Martinez nodded sadly. They know this is their last chance. They're going to throw everything at us. President Susan Adams joined Martinez in the command center. Admiral, What are our options? Ma'am, we could disable their fleet like before, but they have new weapons this time. Unknown capabilities. Could they actually hurt us? Martinez was quiet for a moment. Probably not, but they're desperate now. Desperate people do unpredictable things. What do you recommend? Ma'am, I think it's time to end this permanently. Show them exactly what they're dealing with. Make it clear that continuing this fight will only lead to their destruction. President Adams looked at the tactical display showing thousands of NIGMA ships. How many people are on those ships? Approximately 50 million, Mom. Soldiers, officers, support staff. Almost the entire NIGMA military. 50 million people whose leaders refuse to listen to reason. Yes, ma'am. President Adams made her decision. Admiral, we end this war today, but we do it our way. We show them the truth, and we give them one final chance to surrender. Understood, ma'am. Martinez activated the Earth Defense Fleet. Around the solar system, human ships began to appear. But this time was different. Instead of dozens or hundreds, thousands of vessels materialized throughout space. Emperor Zakthul watched his sensors with growing shock. How many ships do they have? I count over 5,000, Your Majesty, and they're still appearing. Impossible. No species can field that many advanced vessels. Dr. Kim's voice came through the communicator. Your Majesty, the energy readings are off the charts. Each of their ships is generating more power than our entire fleet combined. The Emperor stared at the tactical display. The human ships were arranged in perfect formations around his fleet. They moved with precision that made the Empire's best pilots look clumsy. Open a channel to their flagship, he ordered. Admiral. Martinez appeared on the screen, looking tired but resolute. Your Majesty, I am Admiral Paul Martinez of the Earth Defense Fleet. You have ignored our warnings, rejected our offers of peace, and brought war to our doorstep 3 times. Admiral Martinez, I am Emperor Zakthul of the NIGMA Empire. We do not surrender to anyone. Your Majesty, you have brought 50 million people to die for your pride. Is that really what you want? I want victory. I want the restoration of imperial honor. Martinez shook his head. Your Majesty, there is no honor in this. You're leading your people to slaughter for no reason other than your refusal to accept reality. The reality is that the NIGMA Empire has ruled this galaxy for 500 years. We will not be defeated by primitives. Your Majesty, we are not primitives. We tried to tell you that. We tried to warn you. You refused to listen. The Emperor cut the transmission and turned to his weapons officer. All ships, charge the quantum disruptors. Target every human vessel you can see. Your Majesty, Admiral Clark said quietly, maybe we should reconsider. These humans have shown mercy before. Maybe they'll show mercy again. No more mercy. Fire. The entire NIGMA fleet unleashed its new weapons simultaneously. Quantum disruptor beams lanced out toward the human ships, designed to overload their power systems and leave them helpless. For a moment, the Emperor felt hope. The beams were hitting their targets. Energy was crackling around the human vessels. And nothing happened. The human ships absorbed the quantum disruptors like they were gentle rain. Not a single vessel was damaged. Not a single system was affected. What? The Emperor whispered. How is that possible? Dr. Kim's terrified voice came through the communicator. Your Majesty, they're not just absorbing our weapons. They're converting the energy and feeding it back into their own systems. We just made them stronger. The Emperor felt his last hope die. The Empire's most advanced weapons had not only failed, they had actually helped the enemy. Admiral Martinez's voice came through the speakers. Your Majesty, you have now seen what we are capable of. Your weapons cannot hurt us. Your ships cannot escape us. Your empire cannot threaten us." "This is impossible," the emperor said quietly. "No, your majesty, this is inevitable. You built an empire on conquest and oppression. You refused to grow, to learn, to change. While you were busy conquering weaker species, we were busy evolving beyond the need for conquest." On the screen, President Adams appeared beside Admiral Martinez. "Your Majesty, I am President Susan Adams. I tried to prevent this. We all did. We gave you every opportunity to choose peace. You're just humans. Primitives from a backward world. Your Majesty, we stopped being primitives 300 years ago. While your empire was fighting and conquering, we were learning and growing. We discovered technologies you can't imagine, developed capabilities beyond your understanding. But you looked primitive. Our scans showed no advanced technology, because we chose to appear primitive. We hoped that if you thought we were harmless, you would leave us alone. We were wrong." The emperor felt the weight of those words. The humans had been hiding their true capabilities all along. They could have revealed themselves at any time, could have challenged the empire whenever they wanted. Instead, they had tried to avoid conflict entirely. "What do you want?" he asked. "Finally, what we have always wanted," President Adams replied. "Peace, but your empire has made that impossible. I could order the fleet to withdraw. We could negotiate terms. Your Majesty, you have ignored our warnings 3 times. You have brought war to our doorstep repeatedly. You have refused every offer of peace. Why should we trust you now?" The emperor had no answer. Everything the humans said was true. He had ignored their warnings, dismissed their offers, and chosen war over diplomacy. "Because," he said quietly, "the alternative is the destruction of my empire." President Adams was quiet for a moment. "Your Majesty, your empire was already destroyed. It was destroyed the moment you chose conquest over cooperation, oppression over freedom, pride over wisdom." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that the NIGMA Empire, as it existed, is finished. But the NIGMA people don't have to be." Admiral Martinez took over the conversation. "Your Majesty, we are about to broadcast a message throughout your empire. Every world, every system, every species you have conquered will hear it." "What message?" "The truth. That your fleet has been defeated. That your empire can no longer protect or control them. That they are free to choose their own destiny." The emperor felt his legs go weak. "You're destroying everything we built." "No, your Majesty. We're freeing everyone you enslaved." The broadcast began immediately. Throughout NIGMA space, the same message played on every communication system. Admiral Martinez spoke directly to billions of beings across the galaxy. "People of the galaxy, this is Admiral Paul Martinez of the Earth Defense Fleet. The NIGMA Empire's military has been defeated. Their ships are disabled. Their weapons are useless. Their ability to enforce their rule is ended. You are now free. Free to govern yourselves. Free to choose your own destiny. Free to live without fear of imperial oppression. Any world that wishes to join the Galactic Federation of Free Worlds is welcome. Any species that chooses independence will be protected. The age of empire is over. The age of freedom has begun." Emperor Zak Thul watched his empire collapse in real time. Across the galaxy, worlds that had been enslaved for centuries began declaring independence. Species that had been oppressed for generations started celebrating in the streets. "You've destroyed everything?" he said quietly. "No, your Majesty," President Adams replied. "We've liberated everything. There's a difference." "What happens to me? To my people?" "That depends on what you choose to do next. You can continue to cling to the past, or you can help build a better future." "I don't understand." "Your Majesty, the NIGMA people are not evil. Your empire was evil. There